Hello everybody, welcome back to Dan-Ger for a spooky special. We're here in Long Compton to look at witches and a brutal murder. So before we go and have a look around the village and dive in to the grisly business of murder, I want to tell you a little bit about the village itself. Long Compton is an ancient village established in the early Saxon times. Village legend tells of the visit from Saint Augustus. In the 6th century, it appears in the Domesday Book and was granted its own friar in the Middle Ages. During the Tudor and Stuart times, the village became part of the estate of the Earls of Nottingham, whilst the small and now deceased hamlet of Weston came under the control of the Sheldon family. Both families were strong supporters of the king during the English Civil War, and Long Compton suffered more than most from the devastating conflict. Aside from the church, no houses in Long Compton predate this civil war because of the devastation, while several armies passed through and staying in the village brought in their wake. The late 19th and early 20th century saw the change of fortune for the village as agriculture went into decline and the cities of Birmingham and Coventry offered work and a better life for villagers. A falling population and empty tumble-down cottages meant there were hard times for the village. Since the Second World War, agriculture and the village have recovered, with several successful working farms mixing farming and livestock, and now receives visitors from all over the world coming to look at the Cotswold charms. With its pretty thatched cottages, ancient church and walls of worn Cotswold stones, it seems an idyllic spot. Yet in 1875, the picturesque village of Long Compton made the national headlines as the scene of brutal murder. Defenceless 80-year-old Anne Tennant was stabbed to death with a pitchfork by a James Haywood, a mentally unstable farm labourer, and it was his motive for the murder which aroused the county's morbid curiosity. Haywood was traumatised by the belief that there was 20 witches in Long Compton area whose sorcery prevented him from carrying out his daily work in the fields. Walking home one evening, he spotted Anne Tennant, one of those suspected witches, and stabbed her to death. But it was remarked that she was an old woman of harmless character whose ill fame as a witch depended on her sex and age and absolutely nothing else. While it is easy to dismiss the fears that haunted Haywood as the delusions of an ill man, belief in witchcraft was still widespread in the area at this time. Richard Clark, son of an eyewitness to the crime, wrote, "Despite the eyewitness of Haywood's insanity, he plainly does not doubt the suspicions were fully justified." After the murder, there was increased witchcraft in the area, including a granny folklore, a woman who was allegedly able to transform into different animals. But it was not the only incident to take place in the area. In 1885, a young lad from Lower Quinton named Charles Walton met a dog 9 times on consecutive evenings. On the 9th encounter, a headless lady rushed past him in a silk dress, and on the next day he heard of his sister's death. The incident seems to have left Walton wildly mystified and even feared in the area. Then, on the 14th of February 1945, Walton was murdered on Mellon Hill, Lower Quinton. It was widely suspected that he had, like Anne Tennant, been the victim of fears of witchcraft. But unlike James Haywood, Walton's killer was never apprehended, and the case remains unsolved. So there we have it, brutal murder. Was he insane? Was she really a witch? Let me know in the comments if you believe in witchcraft. I myself am a man of science, and he's probably just a man who had mental health issues which weren't known about back in those days. But whatever happened to the other bloke who was murdered with a pitchfork on his farm remains unsolved. So I'll see you all next time. Sweet dreams.